God, we're really doing this, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah.
And
We uh
yeah,
we started this, and we people think we should finish it.
all right. Well, welcome to
We're
the after show for She-Hulk. I am Jeff. I'm joined by Kevin. And here's the finale of She-Hulk. I gotta ask you, Kevin, what'd you think?
I didn't like it. Like, if I'm being
Yeah.
perfectly honest, I did not like it. I've never really been so conflicted by a TV show before. I enjoyed every single moment of the first 8 episodes until this, and you're just kind of like, that was bad. That wasn't good.
Nope. I gave the show the benefit of the doubt. I was along for the ride. And this episode happened, and I loved how it started. I love the homage to the Incredible Hulk TV show from years ago. The show that was actually, by comparison, night and day difference to this show. Excellent.
Yeah.
Um, and this episode is this is where it lost me. I I liked things here and there for most of the show up to this point. This episode, there were some moments. I'll give it some points, but this is the episode that also it did not stick the landing. It actually took a messy ending and made it messier. And I know people think it was awesome, the fourth wall break and the cleverness of it. In my opinion, I understand that. That's cool if you think so. I completely disagree. I think they got way too cute with it. I understand this was Kevin Feige's idea. I don't care whose idea it was. Y'all put this in the episode. Y'all did this episode. I don't blame the actors.
No.
I don't blame the writers or the directors. They're world class, but they could not execute their show. They have not executed their show the way it should have been. Period. There, it was just way too much of a mess. And this episode pretty much put the exclamation point on they had no idea what the fuck they were doing with this show.
And that makes me think that's the same situation that they're in with Blade too.
Oh yeah, they had 3 years to put a script together for Blade, and the one that they have apparently sucks.
Yep, so much so that they just pushed back Blade and like what, four other movies a year at least.
Yeah, they pushed Blade back to Deadpool's date of September 6, 2024. Deadpool got just pushed back just a few weeks to November of that year, but everything else beyond that, like the Avengers Secret Wars movie, I think got pushed back like about 8 or 9 months. And whatever, and Fantastic Four got pushed back 4 months.
Well, I guess that's kind of the number to push back if you're going to push back on the Fantastic Four, but still.
Hey, if we could push back on She-Hulk, I'd push it back 9 weeks. See if we could just stick with episode one and call it a day.
Um, yeah, like we've talked about last week, we talked about how a show that's only really 3 hours long at best
Yeah.
there was no reason to have filler at all. Like everything should have been consistent to the plot or make sense to the plot. And maybe they just didn't want to do that.
Yep.
But don't allude to the fact that there is a plot throughout this entire series.
Because they completely wasted it in this episode for what plot they did have.
Yes. I'm not sad or angry, mad, whatever, bitter
Nope.
that Mallory wasn't the villain. I'm sad, mad, and angry that they wrote Mallory poorly for the last part of the series.
They not only did that, but they wrote Pug poorly. They wrote Nikki poorly. They took these secondary characters that were charming
Yeah.
and fun and completely wasted their opportunities and potential. They were
Kinda.
bit pieces.
I
Yeah,
think
I know they're secondary characters, but you don't treat them like they're freaking cameos.
the cameos got more of a more attention than the supporting cast did in this series.
You mean Kevin?
Yeah.
Which I will admit there's a few things with Kevin that I did find funny.
Like the references to not Mars Attacks, excuse me, War of the Worlds, as well as Space Invaders.
Well, I did catch that, but I was talking about the you need to skip the transition sequence so we can save money on the special effects, and then it played the beats to the Wakanda on the drums. So if you didn't catch that, they were alluding to CGI costs too much. We've already moved on to another project, Wakanda Forever, Black Panther 2.
Okay. I
I
didn't.
like
I
them. Yeah.
I didn't catch the drums. No.
Yeah, and there was some parts about Kevin I liked, but for the most part, that scene just seemed a bit much for me.
Um. Yeah. Like it. It could have been swell. It could have been really fantastic. I think part of the problem is again, we just saw that with War of the Worlds and Space Invaders. It was Kevin was just the angry AI from Space Invaders that had a fluff ego. Only this time he had the tricolor vision like Martians
Yep,
and was a super storytelling machine that did the same thing over and over again. And it was a very brave choice to have such an anticlimactic climax for this series. Um, I almost hope it's the last season, the way they ended that.
it's not. It's
No,
been alluded that there is going to be a second season.
yes, the group of actors that played the writers, so it wasn't really all that clever to begin with.
Some of them
Uh,
were actual writers on the show.
really, because not a single one of them used their real names on the show.
No, but some of them that were sitting there,
Oh,
non-speaking roles, whether they're, but there are some of them were actual writers from the show.
all right. Well,
They
I
couldn't
just
write a better script for themselves either for that part. That was kind of, boy, you're really ragging on yourself to make a joke. I mean, I don't mind self-referential humor, but this really missed the boat for me. And just going back to the Kevin thing again, like the fact he was like, yeah, everything's predictable in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You really want to pick on your entire filmography for Marvel for a punchline in a throwaway TV show like She-Hulk?
well,
Oh, what was the fucking point of that? That made no sense to me.
it's trying to be clever by being self-aware,
Ugh,
and it's not. And you want to know why? Because Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck were doing the same shit before my parents were born.
right.
I pinged Mr. Ruger, Tom Ruger, the creator of Tiny Toons and Animaniacs,
Mm,
and asked, "Is it okay if I mention on our after show that they pretty much did exactly what you guys had created as an homage to Looney Tunes
yeah.
by having the Warners or Babs and Buster pop out of the cell or the story and start yelling at Mr. Ruger because they're not happy with how the episode was going.
Yep.
You'd see that with Daffy. He'd get into fights with the animators and stuff like that.
Yep.
And it was fun and it was cute. And this could have been also. But what they did instead of doing that is they took it the extra step further to retcon everything that happened previously.
Well, yeah, and it didn't even lead to a real resolution. When that whole sequence was done, you got back and Blonsky's getting arrested, Todd's getting arrested, or Hulk King is getting arrested, and everything's done. There's just, you don't get back to the story and actually see how it gets resolved. It's just, it's already done. So you completely, her argument for that this episode sucks, this writing sucks, I deserve a better ending and a better last episode. And you come back and everything's just done. And I'm like, what? You're not even going to fulfill the the negotiated tactic of this? That makes no sense. You could have had 5 minutes of how you wanted to wrap that up because your episodes have gone from 23 minutes to like 40. And this could have had that extra 5 minutes and actually did that for you. And it just didn't. And the whole idea of, oh, and I don't care if I get flack for this. The whole, I broke my own agreement by turning into She-Hulk. Blonsky did it. He gets arrested. I get off scot-free. That pissed me off. She's a
Yeah.
lawyer. She knows fucking better. She should know that, oh, I'm still going to get punished for this. too, because I broke the law. You don't get off scot-free. If he's not getting off scot-free, you don't get off scot-free either. So then what the
Yeah,
fuck?
and they're putting him away for another 10 years.
Yeah, and she gets to go back to her job.
Like,
This
and
is not a man or woman thing. This is no, he fucked up, he goes to jail. I fuck up, I go back to my job.
yeah, yeah,
What?
and hail to hero again. And that's another one of the things that makes what Bruce tried telling her at the beginning irrelevant. Like,
Yep.
we saw her. What happens when she didn't listen to Bruce? She lost control. She did not know how to control that anger. Whether she was in the right or wrong, which again, I think she was in the right doing what she was doing or what she did, but she was seen as that monstrous Hulk, like Bruce warned her and said, once you do that, you can never take that back. They'll always see you as a monster. They did away with that at the end of this show.
Yep.
And the final episode's called, or was it My Show, or This Is My Show, or whatever it was?
Yep.
And it's still not. They said in the second episode, this isn't going to be a cameo of the week sort of thing. No, it is. It was. It was every single week. The episode was based around a cameo. It was never Jen driving the plot. And I think that was disrespectful to Tatiana as well as to Jen.
Oh yeah.
Same thing with Jamila.
Oh
Titania
god, they
was
wasted that fucking character.
yeah, you had an awesome villain,
She was
a
fine.
goddamn awesome villain,
Yeah.
and nope, we're gonna make men the villain instead.
Again.
And it was funny because they were trying to make it so surprising, but you could see that they were driving through Blonsky's gate.
Yeah.
They were basically making a guys club, and well, it was not a club, it was a bunch of assholes, but making it out to be like a clan meeting.
Right.
Like, I've never been to a clan meeting before, but it certainly had some of the telltale signs of a clan meeting.
Or some like, yeah, some sort of nefarious activity. You know, if Blonsky knew exactly what was going on, he probably wouldn't have even had the damn event.
Correct.
Because the way that all went down, he had no idea what the fuck was going on, other than they needed a motivational speaker from Abomination.
Yeah, and he thought that he was just playing to the crowd.
Right.
And that kind of sucks for Emil. Like, he really felt bad once he figured out what was going on.
Yeah, once he realized, he's like, oh shit, I did not mean for this to happen. I'm just doing my bit as a speaker, and of course I get paid for this. I mean, we gotta pay for all this shit around here.
Yeah.
But it's like, otherwise, if they had known what was literally going on when Jen showed up to stay at the retreat, the guy in the house would have told her, you shouldn't be here. We got some weird event going on down there with some really like not good crowd. You shouldn't be here. Like, he would have warned her. Like, they all fucking knew that we're staying there, and he didn't. He's like, oh, Emil's just down at the lodge doing some sort of big event. You can go talk to him down there, no problem.
I mean, I could write that off as like they don't care who the clients are necessarily or what the group is, just that they have a group. Like,
Yeah.
I've experienced that cooking at a winery before.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter who your group is, you're still catering to somebody one way or the other.
Right.
But for changing everything else, she could have changed Emil going to prison. She could have changed him doing anything other than accepting responsibility. Because really, what the fuck did Emil do the entire series? Accept responsibility and then try to pay back what he'd taken.
Right.
Like,
and then she took that away. She's like, oh, I want him to be held accountable. Well, you're not holding yourself accountable.
oh goodness, no.
Oh, no.
And everything again that happened at the end, like Bruce coming back, that was a horrible thing for her.
Completely fucking random.
Yeah, which I know they were trying to make it a big old huzzah ass whooper of an ending and get you right there and then take it away, but that wasn't the problem for me. It was the fact that Bruce being there was okay. When she said was she going to get fridged at the end of the last episode?
Yeah.
Bruce coming to avenge her or save her is what's now referred to as toxic masculinity, or in the comic book community, a woman getting fridged, like
Oh.
killed and shoved in the fridge, so the hero has to come avenge her.
Okay.
Um,
I did not know that actually.
yeah, yeah. So it's like that is kind of what they did to her. They didn't need to. Like she totally could have come off as the hero. She could have had a great story with Matt and just bounced off of that,
Mm-hmm.
because Matt being her hero muse was neat. It didn't have to be Bruce, didn't have to be her dad or mom or Nikki or anybody else. It was just neat that it was Daredevil.
Right.
Um, and you see Nikki being more heroic in this series than you get to see Jen being. And that kind of sucks. One, because Nikki really is that cool, and okay, we didn't get to see enough of her.
Right.
And then two, because Jen's really cool, and she should have gotten to do more, either
Yeah.
either in the courtroom or on the battlefield. So
Yeah, we got barely any fucking court stuff in this show.
yeah, like again, the
How
first 8 episodes were
disappointing. It's
fun.
She-Hulk, attorney at law. What does she actually do? She does court for all of like 20 minutes this whole season. That's not what I was expecting.
Yeah, and they still tried saying this is a court drama. This is a court drama. They say it at the beginning and they say it at the end.
And a
But there,
comedy.
yeah, but which is fine. I like the comedy aspect, but
Yeah.
there was no court scene at the end. She walked into the court.
Yep.
Okay, and it was so very much almost noticeably a reshoot. It's almost like Marvel did a bunch of test screenings and went with the one that rated highest.
Jeez.
Um,
God, I hope not.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were multiple endings to this show, and that's what they did, is went with the most non-abrasive and bubblegum ending that they could possibly come up with.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I mean, I like that a lot of other people liked it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh yeah, that's
Uh,
totally cool. If you were down with this episode and you loved it, hey, that's cool. We're just of the opinion, and this is just our opinion.
yeah,
We didn't like it. It didn't work for us, brother.
yeah, and it's technical things about the series. It's not
Yeah.
the series itself.
World-class talent on here. We
Oh my
acknowledge that.
God,
We
yes.
honor that. Tatiana was amazing.
And the supporting cast, all wonderful. All the changes that they made to characters, they fucked up the Abomination 6 ways from Sunday. But was it good? Yeah, it kind of was.
Yeah, I mean, Emil was like the shining silver light of like, the streak of light or whatever you want to call it. He was a good example of, hey, we can take something and we could do something different, and hopefully you like it. Oh, we didn't like it. We loved it. Everybody loved Emil in this. Everybody loved Wong in this, and we got him at the end. We'll get to that a little bit later, but like, you had some really good surprises in here that show you know how to do this, but for some reason it just didn't work on an overall level.
Yeah. It comes off as lackluster, anticlimactic.
Yep.
There was no payoff.
Yeah,
Zero
they took away
payoff.
all the payoff for everything that had been built up. I get it. Subvert those expectations. I've heard that before, and that is stupid. You can do that up to a point. You don't do it with your main story going into the ending. You just don't go into your ending and completely shit can everything in the ending. You don't do that. That's fucking ridiculous.
Well, there's a new tactic throughout Hollywood where if someone says, I don't like it, they label you as something now. They label you as something bad, either it be a hater, a misogynist, a purist, whatever the fuck. Like you get labeled now. I didn't like that. Or you simply say, I didn't like it. And here's why. Just like with
Yeah.
I don't like Ghostbusters in 2016, it was horribly edited. Same thing with the Halloween in 2018. Probably had a good story in there somewhere, but it sucked compared to the to Halloween Kills, which some people like Halloween more than Halloween Kills. But anyway,
And I'm a fan of both of those. So what does that tell you? Like, we all got different opinions. It's okay. You don't have to be labeled something. This is a problem with fandom and just
yes.
the way society thinks these days. And this is not get off my lawn type stuff. This is, you can have a different opinion. It's okay. You can have debates. That's okay. The second you go from I love this, you're a motherfucker if you don't like it, like what are you doing? You completely missed the boat on fandom. Yes, this has been around for years. It's just gotten way worse the last like 15 years for no goddamn reason.
Social media.
Yeah, that too.
You get armchair directors that think they know more than writers, directors, producers, and what have you, and
Yeah.
they don't.
We need to go
Otherwise, they'd
back
be
to
making their own
MySpace
shit.
days. Here,
Mm.
there's a reference for all you old people watching this.
Blogging.
What? Man,
Uh,
where's my IRQ, and AOL and Netscapes and
you got mail. Uh,
no, let's just break through the fourth wall of our Disney Plus and make everybody think you accidentally hit the remote. Which I liked that part. And when I
that
was
was
hearing other comments today of people thinking that was stupid, I'm like, but I also heard some that thought it was funny. I'm of the opinion that was really funny. So don't get me wrong. This episode had some funny moments to it, and that one popped me.
oh sure. It was you're 10 minutes in, you still don't know what's happening. You've got 10 minutes left, and then there's
And you
nothing
still don't know what's
happening.
happening. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Well, to prove that point, who showed up in the last 5 minutes in the most random throwaway scene that just totally neutered the Hulk franchise in 5 seconds? Who showed up?
Scar?
Bingo.
Yeah. Like they're gonna
With the
do
dumbest fucking haircut, looking like, oh, I'm at my aunt's party that I never wanted to go to.
hey, at least it's fucking telling the truth there. Like the only good thing about that party was Jen and Matt, but well, and cousin Larry, because I love him.
Oh yeah, I love, yeah.
Dad should have gotten to bury somebody. That would have been cool.
Or hit him over the head with his shovel. That would
Yeah,
have been great.
he really wanted to, and
You
for
know, it
having
would
to
have been
see
funny
his.
if he would have done that to Scar and been like, "Who the hell is it? I don't. You're not family."
I mean, it's. I don't know how World War Hulk is going to be. I don't want to watch it. I don't.
The way that's being set up from this alone, I'm not interested anymore.
Yeah, like I didn't.
I need
I liked
World Breaker Hulk, not hey, this is my son.
kind of, but see, you can't go back to that necessarily. If you do, you're like, meh. There's always going to be a complaint. Once they make
Yeah,
certain decisions, they can't necessarily renege on them. Just
yeah,
like
yeah.
with example, making Blonsky, I don't want to say a good guy because clearly that was a self help camp for supervillains.
Yeah.
Um, but
Little
a better
anti-hero
person.
going on.
Yes, yeah, like he was a better person, not
Yeah.
necessarily a hero, but a better person.
Right.
Um, I don't know, like to go back and make him a villain. That's just kind of like, well, that was all worthless. So
Yeah.
reneging things it makes the past irrelevant and worthless.
Yeah.
I don't know, but one of the best things I did see online today was a close up of Scar, and it says, "Well, his haircut was certainly a choice."
Well, if you remember from Thor Ragnarok, Stan Lee is the hairstylist on Sakaar, and that's who probably gave him that haircut.
Likely as such, yeah.
That's some of the comments I was seeing. I mean, I didn't like the look. It didn't, I don't know. He didn't look like he was presented as well as he could have been, but that's just a little nitpicky thing for me. But it
Yeah,
seems so random and throwaway. Like we kind of predicted this at the beginning of our show. Like maybe Scar shows up at the end with him. Well, not like that, but you can't get everything you can't get what you want all the time. But at least they could have like I don't know. It could have been done a little bit differently, so it didn't feel so random.
It didn't have to be a literal parody of Fast and Furious 9.
It's all
Yeah.
about family.
Like seriously, they purposely shot that to look just like Fast and the Furious. And I'm kind of like, oh, that's why I never watched any of those. Okay, okay.
Hmm.
um, but yeah, it's like, and then people saying, "Oh, it's perfect, it's perfect." Now I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, but I really enjoyed it. And again, that's fine. I don't want to put anyone down
No, yeah.
when I say what I'm about to say, but that translates into me is I recognize lazy writing, but I'm easy to please. And I say that because I'm easy to please. I'm not saying this is a shit series. It was a fun series. It was a shit ending.
I think the best way for me to describe it was fun show, disappointing show.
Yeah.
It was more disappointing than aggravating or tear inducing, like rage or anything like that. Like,
Yeah. There was nothing to
just to
get
me, it's
mad
just
about.
disappointing. And I've never read the comic books. I barely knew the character. So I walked into this like doe eyed. I didn't know what I was getting into. And so I was able to watch all this like unfold. And you're like my guy who knows like all this stuff. So I'm like, all of our episodes, I've asked you, hey, is this like from the comics? What is this like? Blah blah blah. And so I don't know, to me, maybe it's because I'm watching other shows right now that are just way, way, way above on the quality meter. That watching this is just like, maybe I should just put on something dumber like The Simpsons, so I'm not thinking so hard about it. Maybe that's what's going on with me because like House of the Dragon, Andor, and whatnot, they are all like way the hell up here, and She-Hulk is like right here.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's on the ground. It just means it's in the middle. And just utterly, the way the ending was just, I don't know how they handled it, how they executed it, how it was everything. Just the disappointment, it's there. I'm just disappointed. But hey, if you loved it, great. If you hated it, they, that's up to you. I didn't hate it, didn't love it. I'm disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the best way to put it. Um, there was so much predictability that we couldn't do our idea of the predictability meter on the green screen behind me because
God.
there's not enough room. Like you said, you noticed or called Scar at the very beginning. We both called Todd at the very beginning. Uh, Although I will say this about that, they changed Todd's character just as dramatically as they changed Mallory's character towards the end.
Yeah.
Like Mallory went from a very cool, no nonsense, tough as nails kind of person
Mm-hmm.
to very disingenuous and disinterested and judgmental
Yep.
of Jen. Like that whole scene of her losing her temper and then being punished for it was pretty much a metaphor of what happens when a woman tries to show any sort of feeling. Although they're just not put into a supermax prison, but uh, they changed her to have zero interest in telling Jen not to go nuts. They show her not having any interest in the fact that Jen was targeted and attacked. It was just judgment that's what the witnesses saw was a monster Hulk.
Yep.
And granted, yes, she is being factual. That is what the witnesses saw, but just giving no consideration to an actual attack happening, like a plot. Just threw it all out the fucking window, like it didn't care.
Yep.
And that was very uncharacteristic for Mallory. Like they were leading to the fact that, or leading up to that, she could have been the villain. She has motive for being jealous, and they just wrote that off.
Yep.
Todd, they wrote as obsessed with her, not jealous of her, but literally obsessed with her. They they had more loose ends and questions left after this last episode than they had answers for anything throughout the previous episodes.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm sitting here before, weeks ago saying, well, gosh, how does this make sense to Shang-Chi? And now once we're at the final episode, we're like, how the fuck does this make sense in general?
Right.
Um, and them trying to say that they broke their cookie cutter mythology or method methodology. Um, it was the very same ending as Loki. Conceptually, it was the very same ending as Loki. You get to the second to last episode, you get a hint that something bad is going to happen. You get into the final episode, you see the villain, a little bit of exposition, and then it ends. Like it gives you a cliffhanger. And that's pretty much what this did. Only there was no villain other than men and the predictability meter. So it just did nothing. It did nothing.
Yeah, completely wiped out everything before it and just was like, nope, none of that matters.
So I mean, instead of having the list of things that we predicted beforehand, I came up with the list of loose ends just based on the notes going for or starting with who was Holloway's client in the first episode, that she was going down. Not anyway. She was she was prosecuting a supervillain.
Yeah.
We'll get back to the going down part in just a moment. Jin's picture at the end in every single episode of the credits with the Shield dossier.
Yep.
There was no reference to Shield in this whatsoever. Wong and Blonsky's relationship, they left that wide open.
Until the very end, when Emil's like, hey, I don't want to be in She-Hulk anymore. Get me out of here, Wongers. And through the portal they went and they're out of the show now.
Right. But see, that was a fourth wall break, not for Jin, but that was a fourth wall break for Wong and Emil, which yep. I'm kind of like, no, not so much.
Oh, I like it for the fact that they got their ass out of the show. So,
well,
works for me.
Well, they're going to go do some more exciting shit.
Yep.
The prison, this IMAX prison that was shaped in a hexagon. They still aren't talking about the fact that these hexagons mean something.
Yeah.
Hulk's warnings and Bruce's warnings and teachings about anger and focus and all that. We saw again and again throughout the series that Jin didn't listen to Bruce and she suffers for it, but they never come out and say, damn, I should have listened.
Right.
And it's not just with Bruce. Anything that her friends try to give her advice on, she doesn't fucking listen and gets in trouble for. The Wrecking Crew. I mean, I was totally happy to see Wrecker come back.
Yeah.
But they like instantly changed his character to not even being recognizable as Wrecker. The problem with leaving the Wrecking Crew open, just wide open, is because you have the Absorbing Man there. You've got Wrecker there, Thunderball, so many classic villains that they just meh. It was a short little cameo. We put some glowy stuff on them, gave them names. That was them. That was almost as bad as an X-Men, like an old X-Men cameo.
Well, she asked for the X-Men too, and nope.
At least they said the word. Like we had Nikki going snicked last week, and then yeah. We actually said X-Men this time. Jake, nothing more about Jake. So Wong's entire story arc here, other than pulling Emil out of prison, was filler. The wedding wasn't filler. Wong's story was a filler.
Donnie and Blaze Madison's story was a filler with two N's and a Y, but not where you think.
It was at the beginning, not the end. Why Titania attacks the court at the very beginning. Like they never ever said the real reason why she busted through that fucking court and started trying to wreak havoc.
They did that on a scrolling thing at the bottom. And they said she did that due to low blood sugar and she was angry what was happening in her court. That's why she wrecked through.
Yeah, she was trying to flee traffic court. And you're just kind of like, all right, then.
They expect you to be paying like utter attention.
Yeah. they left Titania's grudge way the hell open. Like having her show up and say one word. I mean, okay, yeah, we get more Titania, but not the good kind. I didn't think like
Well,
she.
and that's exactly when they like cut the episode and they're like, whoa, 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 this is way too messy, way too random. I need to talk to somebody about this. It's like,
Yeah.
then why? Never mind.
Books on characteristics. We talked about that. Books family. There was something to be said there, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, the vampire Saracen, knowing that Josh was after the blood.
Oh, that would have
Josh,
been fun.
yeah, Josh was a loose end. You see him in the end credit scene, the drawing, kind of going like this while Todd's on the stand. You don't see him at the Klan rally.
Nope.
No reference to him. Uh, Another thing that you could tell is Todd's hair's grown out a little bit since they first started showing another sign of a reshoot.
Yep.
Let's see here. Todd's connection to Leapfrog. We knew that Todd knew Leapfrog from the auction that he bought the Wakandan spear from.
Ribbon and ribbit.
Wrecker's character change and his silence, meaning he had the opportunity to tell Jen, oh, yeah, this dude hired us to do this. That never occurred to him. And if he had that character change to make amends and make things right with Jen on a karmic level, he probably would have told her what was up or the danger that she was in.
Yeah.
And then Todd's obsession with Wakanda. I hope that could lead into Wakanda Forever, because he makes a mention that yeah, there might be a little bit of legal trouble with it because they say that it was stolen by colonizers. Wakanda's never been colonized before. Like no colonists have ever gotten into it. They're isolationist community, very, very hidden. And yeah, I don't see that happening. So I'm hoping that maybe we see something with Claw.
Mm.
In the future with Todd, I don't know, or some reference to as to how and why he got that spear. But the another thing that they didn't come back to in reference to that spear was the vibranium needle that they showed. Nothing about that. They showed it, but just it never got used.
Right.
Just another example of a whole bunch of things that like, oh, hey, here's a good idea. But we won't use it. Here's some good cast, yeah, but we won't use them.
Yep.
It's there was so much to like, and they took all that and just didn't go with it as far as they could have.
Right.
So I'm curious as to some of their creative choices. Again, all I could think of is this was a focus group situation, and this ending got the highest test ratings.
I don't know. I think they were just misguided and not managed properly. But Kevin Feige spread way too thin. He couldn't be as involved in this as he probably wanted to be.
Was that his voice coming from the robot?
I don't think so. I don't know
That's
for sure, but he's not really one for the spotlight anyway. That's probably why they didn't actually use like his last name, and they just called him Kevin.
Gotcha. And I respect that. That's fine. It's not about him. It's about the movies, the series, the MCU.
Yeah.
Um,
Poor security staff for freaking Marvel.
They
did nothing. They were trying to protect Kevin, and she just whooped their asses and like did some real physical damage. For what? I need to speak to Kevin about my story. So okay, I'm gonna start breaking backs and breaking necks just so I can go talk to somebody about fixing this episode.
Yeah,
I don't know. Narratively, I know that sounds like it's hilarious, but narratively, that was really stupid to me. So I couldn't get the enjoyment out of the scene because logically it made no sense to me.
Correct. The reason why they did it, I think, is because that went really well in season 1 of Harley Quinn.
Okay.
And in Birds of Prey, going through and whooping ass on a bunch of cops and security guards. In season 1 of Harley thinks she's going to break into the Gotham Mint and rob it. And she's just beating the shit out of all these security guards And you find out after she's like basically killed the last one, that basically killed the last one, that they're all actors, improv actors,
Oh,
pretending to guard this vault so Penguin's nephew could fucking try to rob it.
oh,
So it's like, oh, okay, they just ripped off Harley Quinn too.
all right.
It's like, I felt like Robert Downey Jr. going, that guy's playing Galaga. No one thought we'd notice, but we did.
Yep.
like, like, there was a lot to notice about this. And I think binging the whole series today, like I did, I managed to watch from lunch to the time I picked up my kids, the entire thing. Um, uh, I hoped it would have made the ending better. It made me less agitated than it did at like 4:30 this morning, but it didn't make me like it anymore. I laughed
No.
a lot, but just not there. I kept trying to like it, and there was only bits and pieces of it to like. As a whole, no,
Yeah.
no, it didn't work for
Yep.
me. For me, it did not work. So, but again, I to all the people who it did work for, I love you guys, and I love the fact that you dug it.
Yep.
So,
And if you didn't love it and you hated it, hey, that's cool too.
less even more for that. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's just my narcissism. Um, yeah, there was a lot they could have done. They just announced today that Harrison Ford is officially replacing William Hurt as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. Um, no word yet whether or not Liv Tyler is actually coming back. I don't think that she is. I don't think she needs to.
Well, I don't want to miss a thing.
Bruce had to leave on a space plane.
Yep.
Um, but they could have brought him in and introduced him that way too.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what they're gonna do with this.
Yeah. They need to find a clear direction and tone because you can't repeat this kind of season again. You're gonna really start losing people. Like I don't want people to run away from She-Hulk. Like there's a lot that is very good at the core here. They just
Yes,
need to this needs to be edited better and written better. And they
you
got
need
the writers have the talent. I don't know what the disconnect was with this. They couldn't find a tone. It was all over the map and it didn't really fit. So you got fun moments, but they're strung here and there throughout the episodes and the season. You need it to be way more consistent than that. You just need it to be more consistent. This was not consistent. They made a joke out of it at the end, and that's when it's like you knew it was inconsistent. You cannot do that on purpose. That sends a bad message that you don't know how to do a She-Hulk show. You have all the talent and the actors can pull it off. So what is wrong here? What's the disconnect? That's what ultimately led to my disappointment is you had all this talent in the world and this is the best you could do. I don't know about that.
and they didn't even have the fucking stones to give credit to Wayne and Garth for that super mega happy ending too.
We're not worthy.
um, I wish they would have done the Scooby Doo ending too. That would have been fun.
They would have had to pay Warner Brothers for that though.
Oh yeah, but you know what? This movie did kind of need a Scooby Doo ending. Like the fact that Todd was a bad guy, that wasn't news. Like
You knew he was a jackass the whole show.
yeah, if not just a regular ass slime ball, he was the bad guy or a bad guy.
You
Uh, there was just so much. Like Josh being at the wedding, Lulu knowing Josh. Of course,
yeah,
that could have been alcohol too. We don't know.
that's true. She had just started.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. They left so much out, and it really was lazy writing. Joking about it, like, oh, we're not going to do that. That's lazy writing. That was just like when Dan Jurgens couldn't figure out what the fuck to do at the Superman retreat and said, you know what? Let's just kill him.
Yep.
And everyone said, oh, hey, that's a good idea. Let's do that. that only works so often.
Yeah.
um, it's just like they didn't know what to do, or maybe they weren't allowed to do anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, the CG on Todd when he changed, if I may go back to that and nitpick it a little bit,
Ugh.
I don't want to be one of the people that say this is worse looking than Scorpion King.
It's worse
Um,
than Scorpion King. I'll say it.
I thought it was dumber than Scorpion King for two reasons.
Yeah,
One,
maybe that's a better way to say it.
Bro Hulk looked nothing like fucking, or Todd Hulk looked nothing like Todd in general.
I like
Like,
Bro Hulk.
it was a completely, oh God, the come at me, bro. I was like, oh fuck, who wrote this? Who wrote this?
It's so bad that cracks me up.
Like, was he supposed to be being serious? Was that their fucking
Oh,
critique on mankind or males? Like, I'm not sure what you were trying to get at there.
for as smart and
Like,
as rich as he is, that was completely off the rails for me.
yeah, and jumping and clicking his heels, going, yeah, like,
Yeah.
okay. um, this was just stupid. It was so stupid, and that's not the way that Todd behaved previously in all of the other episodes.
Yeah.
It did not work. It did not work.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it went.
But now I want to see what happens next with other characters. Okay, so speaking of that, what they could do to make season 2 better is not necessarily call it She-Hulk Attorney at Law, but maybe call it Marvel Team Up, because that's what was really strong about this series, was the cameos, was the team ups and stuff. Her learning to be a superhero, that's fun. How to be a superhero and a lawyer, like that's what this was supposed to be, but it just wasn't that.
Yeah, this was not that.
And it's like she even said that it's not even a reluctant superhero story. I'm just getting screwed over. Well, yeah, kind of, but calling it and saying you're getting screwed over doesn't make it clever. It just
No.
makes it lazy. You're just saying, yeah, I know. So what? If you don't like it, you're a misogynist. It's not good, and it's not good to alienate your fan base, any of them.
Yeah.
Like, I know you don't want hateful people being attributed to you, but their money's pretty awesome still. I'm pretty sure that's true. Um, so I don't know what they're thinking. Like,
I don't think they know what they're thinking.
even if you're not a hateful man baby, if you happen to have, say, oh, I don't know, a penis, you probably don't want to hear that men are shit, men are the bad guys, men are this, men are that for 3 hours. You just be like, all right, well, I will go scratch myself. I will go burp and make some annoying, disgusting noises elsewhere. But I don't feel like I want to be insulted for the next 3 hours. I just don't.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I'm guilty by association because I've got a penis. I'm not any one of those people. I don't want to be like any one of those people, but I don't
No.
want to be treated like any one of those people. And that's what She-Hulk did. So shame on them for that. And for everybody that fucking liked it, see it for what it is.
You gotta
It's
acknowledge the both
not
the
good.
good and the bad.
Yeah, like you just, negatives on negatives don't make positives all the time.
Right.
So like people don't need to be put down to make a show clever and interesting.
Right.
Make acknowledgments to those people, sure, but don't glorify them being the villain. Like I don't know. They don't deserve that much. So, anyways, I honestly think if I continue anymore, I would just be going around in circles with it. And
Yeah. No, that's where I'm feeling right now. So
this is
I got nothing new. I just keep harping on the same things over and over again. And I don't want to bash She-Hulk into oblivion. That is not what we're doing at
no.
all. Talking about the good, what there was, and the bad as far as what we were seeing. You know, hey, like we said, if you like it, you love it, hey, that's totally cool by us.
Yeah.
Totally down with that. Hey, if you got enjoyment out of this, the show did it for you. That means it accomplished something on some level and connected with you. Awesome. Just didn't do it for us. And that's okay too. We're just two dudes doing an after show. And I ain't gonna lie, I did get a kick out of the show. Just overall, just disappointed.
Yeah. For as strong as it started out, and when I say started out, I mean, all nitpicks aside, the first 8 episodes were fantastic. It just kind of left you with, well, maybe we could have just left it with that last episode and left it at a cliffhanger for the next season.
Yeah, true.
Which is almost as said could be said of almost any series. Like either the last episode or the last season, you're kind of like, eh.
Yeah, I've seen other shows similar that start off great and they end like, okay, that was fucking stupid. And it completely kills it for you. And that's just the way it goes sometimes. It's just the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, they can't all be the Sopranos.
Well, it is, and in general, my opinion is no show is 100% perfect, whether it's only got 6 episodes or it's got 100 episodes. Every show has its issues. If you can acknowledge them, whether that affects your love level, that's up to you. But I can just in general say Star Trek: The Next Generation. Love Star Trek: The Next Generation, but even I will tell you there are problems with different seasons and different episodes and characters throughout it. But it does not mean I still don't love the show and I wouldn't watch it again anyway. So it's okay. No show has to be perfect. Nothing will ever be perfect because you didn't make it yourself.
No, and then even if you did, it's commonly said that no art is finished; it's just abandoned.
Exactly.
But I will say this about that: Mystery Science Theater is perfect. Fuck you. Anyway,
And George Lucas would say, "Hey, I got another edit for you." Hey, you're welcome.
Thank you. Oh, this was a fun after show, though. I mean, or a series of after shows. This is our first after show. So I want to say thank you to the people that have been watching it with us and watching along. And if we made you mad, we're sorry. If we made you laugh, we're still sorry.
Hey, we're cool people. We get along with everybody.
For the most part, we try. And we don't know what the next series is going to be, but we're definitely going to keep doing after shows because you guys keep liking them, and hopefully we have a next finale. That's the next finale we do is going to be much more than this one was.
Yep, we're open to some suggestions. So if you want to throw some in the comments below, we are open to it. Anything that's currently airing, though, we would have to play catch up. So things like Andor, Pennyworth, things like that are unfortunately not in line. We need to be able to start fresh with everybody else. So there might be a little break between now and our next after show. But if something pops up, we're totally down for it. Even if it's a show that is on, like, say, Netflix and we need to binge it, or it's on HBO and we watch it weekly with everybody else, or Prime, whatever we got to do.
Yeah, we're
Throw it in the
greasy.
comment below. And if you stay tuned this long and you actually watched us for this whole episode, I got a special treat for you.
Ooh. Hey.
Shang-Chi digital code. First person who grabs this is all yours. I'm trying to get this to focus, but if you have a problem, that is on you. You got to figure it out yourself. All right.
Sorry.
Nope, I'm not.
There's a skill to our madness.
Yep. You got to earn it. I had it up there long enough. You can figure it out on a freeze frame.
All right. Well, dude, I think we've said pretty much all we can say about this final episode. Like,
yep,
it was fun, but it sucked.
Hey, it's all right. I had a good time and I love talking about it with you and with all of our fans and audience out there. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Take care, guys.
Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at sunsandshadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.